try this differently then. Shall we? Let's move this over here. I want to show you something. This is take 3. I'm having some weird things going on with my computer at times. I wonder if it's related. I want to take you back to when this was going through court. Jail time for mallet assault. I was the one who was assaulted. Cost me my business, cost me everything. Lost 5 cars, we became homeless. Lost my business, lost everything. That's alright, because I gained everything. It's okay, I'm not looking for sympathy. But there's some justice that needs to be served in the right way. It was never done right. That whole story that the Advocate wrote is a lie. It's an absolute lie. Now, just before that was going to court, and I had just been informed that we was coming up for court, Supreme Court. The detectives that had ghosted me for 2 years popped back out of the woodwork. I ended up telling them I didn't trust them, based on a few things, including what I'm about to tell you. See my cursor? I was on the computer this particular day, and I noticed my cursor in the background. I had a cursor. I was doing something, and then I noticed, hang on, there's 2 of these on my screen. The other one was like a ghost one. You can faintly see it. I had the footage of my assault in a file like that. And I noticed it flashed up. It had been opened up. And frame by frame it was being deleted. I instantly, straight away, unplugged my computer. This is weird. I couldn't even tell you how to do this. I've got no idea. I unplugged my computer. I waited a while. Plugged it back in. Switched it back on. Now, there was about 37 or 38 minutes of footage all up. The police never gave back my thumb drive of the footage, the full footage, which was my thumb drive. I lent it to them and I said, you can take a copy of that, I want it back. They never gave it back. When I went to court, they only had about 15 minutes of footage, which was about 15 minutes of footage, which was the same footage that was left on my computer. But all the other footage was gone. I never got my thumb drive back. Now when I plugged my computer back in, most of the footage was gone. There was only a few frames of it left. I'm not even bullshitting you. At all. Not a tiny little bit. Now, I felt it felt off. It felt wrong. When this happened, well, this is going to sound crazy, I know. But when all this happened, I was kicking up a stir with the council, with the Environmental Protection Agency, and with Emu Bay Real Estate, which was owned by a bloke called Dudley, who was one of the detectives from back in the day of Underbelly, who just banished from Melbourne, came to Tasmania and set up a real estate. How does a cop end up in real estate? Anyway, it had all the footage and it just disappeared. Nearly all of it. The fella that assaulted me, his mum is in through the Mormon church. She'd be passed now. And he was hooked up with the Rotary Club. Rotary Club or no? Red Cross. I think it might have been Red Cross. One of those ones. And he used to go to sausage sizzles and help out with those sorts of things. He was known for knocking about with bikies. He was known for assaulting people and being a drunk. Now he was at my workshop, literally trying to murder me. He told me he was going to kill me, because otherwise I'd go to the cops if he didn't. and he was there for that long, that much noise was made, he ended up taking off. He shit him, and the cops, and of course I called the cops. The cops caught him trying to burn the evidence, his clothes and everything. Now the detectives, heaps of weird things happened from that point on. Heaps of things were happening before that. The workshop got flooded out. Prior to all that, he tried every which way from Sunday to invest $150,000 into my business, and I wouldn't take it. It was my business. I started it from nothing. From nothing, literally from nothing, with $4,000 in my driveway, and that was it, and a trade under me belt. A couple of trades. And I took it places. It took a lot of work, a lot of hard work. I wasn't going to let somebody else railroad it into failure. Capable of doing that myself, which it ended up after this had happened. Now, this is what's weird about it all. There was the thing with the cursor, the footage disappeared. I pretty much sacked the cops. I told them I didn't trust them, and then they disappeared off the radar. Just ping. And I ended up with a state barrister, and a Crown barrister and a Crown prosecutor. But it was going to be being run by the detectives. It doesn't seem right to me. They took me to the courthouse and told me how it was going to go and told me what I had to say and this and that, and I said, I'm sorry, but I don't trust that it doesn't feel right. And then they never dealt with me again. Now, the footage disappeared off my computer. I'm sitting there and I watched somebody hack my computer and erase the footage. The thumb drive I gave them it doesn't exist now. This whole story is absolute bullshit. Can you see that? Probably not. Hard to see. There we go. Jail time for mallet assault. By Sandy Powell of the Advocate newspaper. I'll do a full video on that article one day, because it's all lies. It's utter shit. Now, if you probably can't see it. You hit me top there, but they must split me clean open. Now I would think that somebody that tries to kill you with a hammer hits you once and then hangs around trying to get a second hit on you because now he's worried you're going to go to the police. And he brought his own hammer. That's premeditated attempted murder and grievous bodily harm, at the very least. The statement was taken from me, made no sense when we went to court. I'm like, that's not my statement. It is, but it's incomplete. Bits have been taken out of it, which made it make no sense. It was utter gobbledygook. And I know that there were things that I said that weren't in the statement. I'm like, where's this? Where's that? There was nothing added, but there was heaps missing. They probably thought I wouldn't notice because they took my statement while I was getting stitches in my head, getting my head stitched back together. While also, I was under the influence. Don't matter. I wasn't that far under influence, and adrenaline kicked in that hard, there was no influence left, if you know what I mean. It was like, I'm so alert now, I'm more alert than you could imagine. I've just been hit in the head with a hammer, like half an hour ago. Now the circumstances around that, he got sentenced to 11 months and he done 9. I got $11,000 victim of crimes payout. After losing everything. I argued with Donna Adams, who was commissioner. She'd only just became commissioner, and I said, $11 grand? Do you really think that's fair? I said, I'm not impressed with that, but this has been dragged on now. By the time I got offered a payout from victims of crime. It had been 2.5, nearly 3 years, and my family had been through enough. I said, what about my family? She said, this isn't for your family, this is for you. Well, what the fuck sort of answer is that? I said, I'm inclined to feel like I need to see a lawyer about this. She said, you can see a lawyer if you like, but it's not going to change the outcome of what I'm going to give you. Now, I know I was hoodwinked. I know I was stitched up. I know that. 11 grand for attempted murder, but a Sheila can get 50 grand for getting beat up by a fella, and then gets back with the fella and gets beat up again and gets another 50 grand. Who I know personally, and she's an idiot. Like, how does someone get a payout of that magnitude twice from the same bloke? Come on. You went back to that? That's your own stupid fault. You got 50 grand to go and put your life back together and you went back to that? Okay, obviously you're either scamming for money or you must like it. Because that money doesn't come from government, it comes from you. It comes from me, it comes from the taxpayer. Now what was weird is, like I was saying, prior to all that, he was trying to get me to take 150 grand off him to invest into my business. He was getting a second payout from a work injury in Queensland where he apparently hurt his hip on a work site, in a mine site in Queensland. Workers' compensation payout. Now he went to prison. He was in for 9 months on the grounds that because apparently he looked after his mother. He had 2 sisters to take care of her. He never took care of her. He's just a drunk. But hey, he's with Red Cross or Rotary Club or whatever it is, and in with the Mormons. You know, the Freemasons. He got out of jail and he bought my old workshop, the workshop in front of it, and the house next door to it. As soon as he was out. And as soon as that happened, the real estate agent, Emu Bay Real Estate, Dudley, sold the real estate agency and retired. Now prior to all that, there was issues going on with that land, and I'd been making a noise at the council and the Environmental Protection Agency. The workshop had been flooded out. There were dead animals turning up all over the place. There was heaps of weird shit going on. Really, really weird. And until David Miller came along, none of that stuff was going on. It's a stitch up. I know it was a stitch up, alright? Everyone involved done something shady in that. To this day, those workshops out there at Haybridge, there's something weird about it. There's something weird about that land. I contacted the Environmental Protection Agency, and some bloke came out with some used coffee jars and Vegemite jars and took some water out of the ditch. And I said, well, what are you doing taking water samples in contaminated jars, mate? There's something going on with the water out here. And after I did that, Tas Water was out twice a day for months checking all the water. All lifting the tops off the stormwater, checking all the drinking water, looking everything, every single water pipe out there they were checking. And over and over and over. Something weird was going on out there. I was sick as a dog, I nearly died. My workshop was full of these weird spiders after they dug up a ditch. And I got bit by one. Nobody would... Apparently I never got bit by a spider. I did it to myself, apparently. Like, what the fuck did I unearth? What bear did I poke? The amount of weird, inexplicable, rationally not explainable things that happened to me within a 6-month period, and my business and everything surrounding that property. No one was happy until I was out of Burnie. I come back to Burnie. David Miller set up a business there. I've since seen him at Centrelink a few times and down at the Salvation Army. Not Salvation, City Mission. At lunchtime getting $2 meals. So I'm guessing like the wheels fell off it. The truth always comes out. He tried to claim that he done it in court. He tried to claim that he done it because I'd done shoddy work at his mum's car. No, he trashed his mum's car himself. Yeah, I backed into it. Because he parked it in a blind spot behind my car, drunk as a lord when he had no licence. I didn't expect there to be a car behind me. What was he doing there in the car at all? I knew he had no licence and he was drunk as a lord. I backed out of my shed, bang. The fuck? Where'd that car come from? It was his mum's car. He tried to say that I knocked his workshop off. No. You want to know who knocked his workshop off? I'll tell you who knocked his workshop off. Ty Fennick. And Nicole Ewington. And Andrew Olsen. There you go. I found that out after the fact. He reckoned I had something to do with it because I done up a Harley for Ty Fennick. I helped him out. I helped out a stranger. He came down and seen Ty there with his Banditos jumper on. The same Banditos that apparently, according to the cops, ended up with my Factory 308 HJ1 tonner that I never got back. But the cops knew where it was, but they never went and got it. Apparently. According to the cop who's doing up 1 tonners. You see how crooked this all is? Do you see how crooked this all is around this place? I'm not the type to back down or bend the knee. I do not go away. The more that you try to make me go away, the bigger and louder I become. It would be better off that everyone just come clean. The newspaper wrote lies about me, ruined my name. I will never get offered a decent wage. The only people that seem to be interested in hiring me now are fucking Freemasons. Like Darren Elphingston. Not interested in working for you, Darren Elphingston. You're a pig. A really weird one at that likes little boys in the Philippines. Hey, I've heard all about that. The guy that has failed business enterprise after failed business enterprise but never goes broke. Where you're going wrong with me is what you don't realise is I've got chronic Napoleonic syndrome. I don't know how to back down. But I use that. So I'm ripping everything apart. Everyone's going down. Everyone is going down. I don't care if I've got to go down to make the ship sink. Because it's a dirty, rotten ship that needs to be sunk. The people of this place deserve better. My kids deserve better. So there's a little story, people. I can't wait to go to court. It's funny. I used to be afraid of court. And now I go to court, the whole room just looks at me. As soon as I walk in, I feel absolute disdain from people that I don't know. Fear, people back off away from me. I see the fear in their eyes. The whole deal. Why? Because I don't do it for me. Just a meat wagon, guys. I made a deal with the boss upstairs. I made a deal with Christ, and I can't back out if I wanted to. Why? Because it's not a deal, it's an oath. And I take an oath very fucking seriously.